Hi, I'm Sophie, and welcome to my world. You know, a lot of my viewers ask me for different things out of duct tape and other kind of projects. And one of the things that Amber, among other people, asked me to do is a woven duct tape bracelet. And so I'm going to show you how to make one right now. So for this project, all you're going to need are some good scissors, duct tape, at least 2 different colors, and if you want, packing tape. So the first thing you're going to do is you want to make sure that you make your duct tape long enough that it'll fit over this part of your hand if you're going to make like a bangle. Now if you wanted to use like Velcro or something like that, then you could make it smaller and then you can make it to fit your wrist. But I like these to be bangles so they can slip over my wrist. So I'm going to make my duct tape as long as to go around my hand. So I'm going to measure out a little extra. So I figure if I go like this, and add a little bit more. So yeah, this will be a lot extra. I'm just going to snip that. Okay, I'm going to make what I call a fold-over strip. So what I do is I just pick this up, I take my one piece, and I fold it over on itself. And I try to get it as close to the edge as possible, and then seal it like that. Now, if you get any extra little stickiness, like there's a tiny little extra bit of stickiness here, I'm going to trim just right inside that edge, just to get rid of that sticky. Okay, now here's where I can measure. So I know that I made it bigger, but I want to make sure that this goes around, and I have about 1 inch extra. So that's about where I want it, right there. That'll make sure that I can get it over my hand, because my wrist, of course, is much thinner than my hand. Okay, so that is my size of my bracelet. Now what I'm going to need is my weaving material. Now for my weaving material, I'm going to be making a strip. And here's a great thing. If you've got an end of the roll, you know when you pull this off, I don't know if this will happen on this one, but when you pull it off and you get the end of the roll, that part that has the cardboard, it's perfect for doing this project, but I have a feeling I still have a little extra here. So anyway, you're going to want double. So you want 1, you want 1, 2, I need a little bit more, like that. You want twice of this length. Now what we're going to do is take this, and I'm going to fold this over on top of itself. I like to call this a fold-over strip. You fold it down on top of itself. Hopefully you don't get your fingers stuck. Now, if this is too hard for you, you can just take, because sometimes that's fold over can be a little tricky, just take 2 strips of tape that are exactly this length, lay 1 strip down, sticky side up, and then just take your other strip and put it down on top if you're nervous about folding one over on top of itself. Okay, now I'm going to cut off this little extra sticky because I don't need that. Alrighty, perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is fold this in half like this, and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut all the way up to about like just the tip of my finger. See that? Right up to the tip of my finger, almost as if I was making fringe. So I'm just going to cut right here, right up to there. Did you see that? Where I went right up, a little bit further actually. Right up to the edge of that pink, right there. But I still have, I want you to see this, I still have a strip here. That is super important. Okay, now I'm going to fold it over this way. And I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I'm going to cut all of these, all through all of these. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm making fringe. And again, I'm going all the way up to the bit of that chevron right there, to that edge of that chevron. See, I don't have very much left, just about a 1/4 inch up there. Okay, now I'm just going to cut strips. Now what I want to do is again go to that 1/4 inch there, and I'm making my strips about a 1/4 inch wide too. So I've got to go like that, and that, and that. These are going to be my weaving strips. And that, And this is a little bit thicker, but that's okay. So I'm going to open it up, and there you can see I have sort of a fringe, right, with a good 1/4 inch still left up there to hold it all together. Okay, now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to fold it onto itself, and from the middle part, so these are the 2 loose ends, this is the middle fold over part, I'm going to cut 1 cut and 2 cuts so that I cut this into 3 strips. 1 strip, 2 strip, 3 strip. Now when I open it up, you're going to see that my end is still connected here and my end is still connected here. Now I didn't quite get these even. I want to get a little bit further up on this side. These have to be even. You want this to be even right there. And this needs to be even here and here. There we go. So there's still some left here and there's still some left here. Now we're going to start weaving. And what we do when we weave is we just take this strip and we start weaving. So we're going to start by going over, under, over, and slide it up. Then this one is going to go under, over, under. See that? Slide it up. This one's going to go over, under, over. I hope you can see past my fingers there. Do you see how it's starting to weave? We're starting to get the weave, starting to get the pattern. And we're going to continue going here. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Now don't get too concerned if it slides a little bit because you're going to come back and slide everything together. I hope you can see this on my fingers aren't in the way. And under, over, under, over, under, over. Now I'm about halfway here and I'm just going to need to scooch it a little teeny bit. Get it back in line here. But you can see how the weave is starting to happen. See that weave? Okay, now I'm going to come back here and go under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Now you may find that you have a little more weaving material than you actually have bracelet, and that's okay. You're just going to trim it off at the end. That's totally fine. So over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. We're almost there. Almost there. One more over, under, over. And last one looks like it's going to be an under, over, under. And I don't think this one's going to fit, but we'll try it. Over. Oh, yeah, it will. Under. Now, it does look like I have one too many extras. So what I'm going to do here is just trim this one off. See if I can pull this last little guy through. Come on, guy. Come on, little guy. There's the little guy. Okay, I'm just going to trim this little guy off because we don't need him. Okay, super. Now, what I'm going to do is just slide this up. You just want to adjust it. And it may help to turn it over. Uh-oh. Looks like, okay, whoop. See, this is where you can really tell if you made a mistake here. And I did. It looks like this one just got out of whack there. There we go. Now we're back. Okay, and scooch, scooch, scooch. Just scooch these in place like this. So now when it's nice and tight and scooched up, you got your weave. This is the back of your bracelet. This is the front of your bracelet. So what we're going to do is flip it over onto its back. Now I'm going to take a piece of tape. Now I think I'm going to use the yellow tape because I have a feeling now I'm going to get to the point where the backing is going to come off. Actually, let me show you something. If it does, it would be really great. Okay, so see this? See this part here? This makes the perfect weaving strip without having to do the fold over, because look, check it out. I'll do this really quick so I can show you. See, if instead of having to put the tape on the back of it, see, you can easily make your weaving strip like this. And so this is a great project for using the end of your roll. I'm so glad that happened. Okay, so what I'm going to do is scooch these guys all up. And what I want to do is lay a piece of tape so that it covers the whole back here over this edge here. So I'm going to rip this in half and lay it over. And I want to make sure, see how I'm overlapping here to make sure that I'm on the outside of the weaving strip. I'm going to do that on the same side here. I'm going to do it on the outside of that weaving strip. Okay, I'm going to use the yellow here. I hope you guys will forgive me. Push that back in. The outside of that weaving strip. And the reason is because we're going to trim it. You'll see in just a second what I mean. Outside of that weaving strip. Okay, perfect. Okay, now we flip it over, and here's where we're going to trim right to the outside, see that, of the weaving strip. And that's going to make sure that all of the little pieces are totally locked in over here, and you still get your whole pattern. Okay, so see, I'm just outside of it. Okay, now, here's where my fabulous packing tape comes in. I'm going to use my packing tape to seal this whole thing off. Okay, now as I've always told you, you got to fold that end of your packing tape over because that makes it easier to find. Okay, so I'm going to measure my packing tape. And that fold over edge is going to be off. Oop, don't do that. That fold over edge is going to be off the edge of my bracelet here. I'm just going to center this right over my entire bracelet. See that? And then I'm going to flip the whole thing over and fold the edges over. And that's going to seal everything. That's going to make my bracelet totally solid. So see, this isn't going to go anywhere. My weaving pattern isn't going to slip. It isn't going to go anywhere. So now I can trim this off. Now, if you don't have packing tape, I'm going to show you what you do. So you would get it to the state that we just had it before we had the packing tape, right? No packing tape. So just imagine there's no packing tape on here. And what I would do is I would take some different tape, and I'm going to make a very, very, very thin strip. I'll show you what I mean. Oops. Sometimes the tape does that. It makes me crazy. Okay, so I'm actually going to make a very thin strip here. And I'm going to lay it at the very, 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 very edge. So remember, this is if you're not using packing tape. See, I've laid that at the very, 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 very edge. I mean, if you look at that, see, there is very little, but it is on that edge. And that is going to lock those last little pieces, the side pieces, in place so that you can leave all this open. Because if you don't lock in those edges, they'll start to fray out. And you don't want that to happen. So then you would take another little strip. And again, remember, it's the tiniest, or just the tiniest little bit. Tiniest little bit on there, and then you fold it over. Now I have to admit, this one's sloppier than the ones that I've made on my wrist here that I've been practicing with, but I think it's because I'm kind of rushing to try to get this done for you guys. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it off, and now I just fold it over on itself, and I take a strip of tape, lay it on itself just like that. I've overlapped about 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to lock it into place by laying it over. So see, I've got half of that tape is on there, on that edge, and then I fold it over, and then I'm going to fold this extra up and over to lock it in. There we go. And there you have it. So remember, you can make it completely out of duct tape, or if you want to add that extra little shine and that extra little bit of security, you can add that layer of packing tape, which you know I've become very fond of lately. So for more ideas inspired by you, come and check us out at Sophie-World.com.